So here's the industrial park that was built on the old Allstate property. Hopefully Allstate still owns the property, and they did this build out because they need to diversify their investment portfolio, and Allstate could have created a REIT, real estate investment trust, a private one, and yes, they could have got others to invest in this project, and they share the return if other people invest, but it also decreases the risk by Allstate, but they still own the land, so they're investing in the income from the property. They're not investing in the land value. They're getting the income from the property, and the equity in the land. Truly, Allstate owns the land free and clear. So they own all of the land. Now they can give them a shared equity portion. Truly, they can give them equity and income over the existing value, but the base property, whatever it came into the private REIT for, is the property value, and the property is owned 100% by Allstate. All they do is give them a shared equity and income if they want to, or they can make it just an income REIT, and they only share in the income, none of the equity. And Allstate remains the owner of the property, but they diversify in the build-out, so they don't take all the burden related to the project. And if the project goes south, Allstate still owns the land, and the investors, they lose, and Allstate loses related to the project, but Allstate doesn't lose the land. So when this REIT opens, when this opens, this project, when it starts getting all the semi-traffic and everything in, it's going to be an incredible amount of stress on the infrastructure here. But again, this whole area, all this rental property and that, all the people living here, these properties are going to go up. So if I was a renter, I would look to get a multi-year lease right now if I was a renter. But if I'm the landlord, I'm going to project out property increases, rent increases. So the rents are going to go up. And all these properties are going to go up. And that Dunkin' Donuts is going to get an incredible amount of business. That Dunkin' Donuts that's down here, the projects in Northbrook by the Japanese pharmaceutical company, and also that Japanese pharmaceutical company could have a distribution, or they could build out right in that center right there. They can build out manufacturing of different types of medication. That Japanese pharmaceutical company, and let me go back. And so I'll show you the Japanese pharmaceutical company, but they can actually build out a manufacturing or distribution hub right there. And so it would be great for them because they have a presence and a growing presence. And my ex, Jennifer Kim, she works there and she's in higher ups. And yes, I love her. I always say that, but it's true. My love is eternal. But not if you butcher me. There's a big difference. So she's done a lot of small things that even with certain things that she still has my love. And so anyways, the Japanese pharmaceutical company, I'll give you another side of this. This is a big logistical hub, but there's a wheeling manufacturing. And if they build out the wheeling, now this is Northbrook, but they build out this area in Wheeling up here. There's where my family's business is, Walsh Brothers, has a huge manufacturing park up there in Wheeling. And that manufacturing park can expand. Oh yeah, it can expand. And they can use this as a distribution center for all the logistical support that's needed for the manufacturing hub. The Wheeling Manufacturing Hub can distribute through here, bring in the parts, and distribute the parts out through this logistical center. So this logistical center would open up FedEx, UPS, Esta is another logistical company. RL is another logistical company. And they do a ton of business. Like Handy Foil, they had semis lined up left and right, or used to. And now this can be a logistical hub. And so they can break it out. So it goes on small trucks from Handy Foil to here, and then it goes on semis from here and goes out to wherever it needs to. And yes, it can take the semi loads and send them to airports like O'Hare or Midway, depending. Midway domestic flights, and you want to move logistics domestically, bigger amounts, just domestically. O'Hare, international logistics. Rockford logistics, semis go up to Rockford, and the planes go into different locations. Remember, there's all over the world. So Rockford and Midway, O'Hare, and Gary and Milwaukee can serve different logistical locations. So here's the logistical park on this side, and the logistical park on that side. And then there's an LA Fitness here, and a Starbucks, and this gas station. Does this gas station serve semis? Oh, that's right. They don't have a trailer park, but there's land here, and they could move this center behind them and build out a semi hub here. They need to have a semi hub here. This needs to become a truck stop. A truck stop. They need a truck stop. So this BP Mobile needs to expand and turn into a truck stop. And it has to have all that diesel fuel moved in here and have expand. So it needs to buy next door. It needs to expand and become a truck depot. Because with a logistical center, you need a truck fuel depot. And that BP can be it. Now, here's the Japanese pharmaceutical company. They need distribution, right, in America. And so it's here in Northbrook. This used to be the water plant, or Pelican water. And this whole ground was that. And it's a water purification. They could have grown, but they did their things wrong. Water purification is needed. Like, look at Russia. They need water purification. China, all these places need water purification, even in the United States. So Caligan or whatever. So, but this is the Japanese pharmaceutical company right here. And they bought this building, and they became the anchor tenant for all of this property. And not until they moved in did all of this fill out. And this property, even after it built, was sitting here for a while until the Japanese pharmaceutical, somebody got them to move in here to Northbrook. Somebody brought them in because this property, even after they built out stuff, it was sitting vacant until they got the anchor tenant of the Japanese pharmaceutical company. And then they have a daycare facility right here in this school, right here. So all these places, whether you work at Mariano's or you work at Starbucks or you work at the Handy Stone, all of these, or LA Fitness, there's the daycare center that supports, so you can drop your kids off of there, preschool. It supports this whole area. And if I was running the daycare center, I would be talking to every one of these businesses that they can drop their kids off there for care. And they don't need anything more than this. All these businesses here, they have kids, and they have kids in preschool, and this should suck up most of their availability. So they don't need the greater community, but what's going to happen? All those jobs that are going to come in the logistics center down here, tons of jobs are going to come into this logistics center, and those people are going to have kids too. And they're going to need preschool. And I think there's another, Gertrude Nielsen is another child care. So here's the mall. But will people in the logistical park eat this food? And we can build out the Asian connection for logistics, just like Atlanta did. It became the #1 airport because it built out connections. But who the connections did Atlanta build out primarily? South Korea. Atlanta gets most of its international freight from South Korea, not China. They get most of it from one country. And by all that commerce from South Korea, like you have H Mart and all these Korean grocery stores, well, that stuff comes in from Atlanta, and then it gets trucked out from Atlanta. But one country, South Korea, they became the #1 airport in the United States. And an incredible amount of South Koreans live in Atlanta. And as I'm told from my South Korean friends, the girls are incredibly beautiful that are there. They take care of themselves like girls in South Korea take care of themselves. And my Korean male friends here said the girls down in Atlanta that are South Korean are unbelievably beautiful. And you know what they also said? They're very aggressive. Not shy, aggressive. South Korean women like Jen, she liked me. She gave me her number, gave me the card, and said, I want to date you. South Korean women are very forward. And that's another reason I like them. But as my Korean male friend said, they are like in South Korea. The women are very, very forward. I was thinking about moving to New York because the women were very forward. If they like you, they let you know immediately. That's why I was very excited to go out to New York the first time, because they told me I'm a shy male. I need the woman to proposition me. And so I went out to New York because all my friends said the women there are more aggressive. If they like you, they let you know it. That's how me and Jen ended up together. She gave me her number, her thing, call me, date me. And then she was aggressive in every other aspect. She was the first mover with all forms of sex. She was very aggressive with me. And if not, but that's what I want. I'm very submissive to women. I need a woman in that aspect in the bedroom and in approaching me dating. I need women to be the aggressive person. But the funny thing is, some women figured it out, like my ex-roommate Sandy. And she was very aggressive towards me. And I did appreciate it. And she did win me on the back end. So her consistency over years, Sandy pursued me for years. And her consistency paid off because one day I gave her the opportunity. And I told her, we were at the shelter, and I told her, okay, you have me. You wanted me all these years, you have me. She was on a date with this other guy, and I said, just tell him to go home. You have to make a choice now, but you have me. And she said, well, I can't. I'm like, he's a big boy. The date's over with. Have a good night. I'm going to hang out with my friends. And have a good night. It's been a pleasant evening, and have a good night. You can stay in the club or whatever, but I'm going over here. Thank you for the good night. And I told her, you have to make a choice right now, me or him. And she said, well, she called me the next day, and she pursued me after that, but no more. She won all those years of pursuit, and I gave her her opportunity. And she chose not to take him, because if she really, 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 really wanted it, even all those years of pursuing me, she would have got rid of him immediately, without hesitation. It would have been over with. She would have dumped him. So that's why I talk about people make time for you. If they really want you, they clear their schedule and they make you important in their schedule. And if they stop doing that, then they don't want you. So it's the same way with employers and everything else. You can tell if you're favored or unfavored because people make time for people that are important to them, and they do. Jen said that after we broke up. She said, you move down the list and I'll get back to you later. And I said, fine, I understand. I'm not a priority anymore. But when we were dating, if I called her, she responded immediately. If I texted her, she responded immediately. I was the number one priority, one purpose, me. And so, again, that's what happens, and you can tell. So how much somebody's interested by how they make you a priority. And if they make you a priority, then they show they're interested. Even serial killers. Truly. When people are interested, they make you a priority. So anyways, this area, here's a life insurance company. I don't know if they do group benefits. And here's ABT. They need to lose that logistical park, right? So I went back here. They have about 1,400 trucks. Now, there's a logistical park they can even further expand out their operations from. Yeah. They need to get things in, and it can come into the logistical park, and then they can pick it up with these trucks. So all their commerce coming in can go into that logistical park from ABT Electronics, and they can put it in that logistical park. So here, let me go back here. This is where I ran into some people back here, and they threatened me, and they were a bunch of Hispanics, but it didn't matter. The thing is, they threatened me, and I left. And I'm like, I don't know why you're threatening me. It doesn't say land closed, private street, nothing. So I took it as not good. But you can see, I just going back here to show you, they have about 1,400 or more vehicles. So how are they integrating with the logistical center? Truly, how are they integrating with the logistical center? So they got to figure out how they can use that new logistical center as leverage to expand their operations. They're trying to find cost-cutting measures, maybe using it where everything goes into that logistical center and it gets emptied on the different semis with other orders from, Sony and so on, and it gets distributed. Sony comes in and they break it up on different trucks at the logistical center, and App gets their segment of Sony TVs or Samsung TVs. So I'm telling you that this area needs to figure out the intensity of people that work in the logistical center is incredible. If that's going to be, that place is going to be going 24/7, 365. That's how port centers go. They're 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And they run all holidays and everything. And they move huge merchandise, huge loads of merchandise. So that center is going to bring an incredible flow into it. And I'm wondering how this area is positioned, how they're working between the Mayor Wheeling with the logistical manufacturing park, can use the logistical center, and ABT here. And I think this is Glenview. And so you got Glenview, Northbrook, and so on. How are they going to integrate with that logistical park? Truly, Glenview, Northbrook, Wheeling, and the other around it, how are they going to maximize? So these mayors here have to form an action group and figure out how they can work together. Never happened at O'Hare Airport. You have Elmhurst, the second largest logistical park outside of Saudi Arabia in the world. And the mayors around O'Hare Airport, like Rosemont, they don't talk to Elk Grove. Elk Grove doesn't talk to Rosemont. And the mayors around O'Hare never figured out how to maximize their opportunity for their village related to O'Hare Airport. They didn't form a group. Truly, they come in and it's in their best interest to meet regularly the mayor of Elk Grove, the mayor of Rosemont, and the mayor of the city of Chicago. Truly, the mayor of the city of Chicago sits down with the mayor of Rosemont, the mayor of Elk Grove, and I forget what other villages are around O'Hare Airport directly. And it's the same thing around Midway. It's different wards maybe, and those aldermen create their own action pack. Like, say, the aldermen that are around Soldier Field, or I don't know if it's divided into 2 wards, but you have to understand they have to meet regularly talking about these things that are major drivers and how they create the right thing. This is a whole Korean mall right here. Jimbu. And then here's the Korean American Association of Chicago and all the Korean restaurants. And then back there was a whole big Korean mall as well. And they're drivers. So, and Asian women are going to become the number 1 earners in the United States. They're set and projected to be that way. They're already in driving at the top of the high schools and the top of the colleges and the top of the med schools and other areas and consulting and many other areas. And they're already there. So they're just about to enter the workforce at even larger numbers, Asian women. And they're the Asian tiger. The Asian tiger mom? The tiger mom. That's an Asian woman. A tiger mom. And so $27 trillion Asian women controlled in Asia. $27 trillion in wealth. And that's nothing compared to what it's going to be. So all those young Asian women, the doors are open. So 27 trillion, it's in a double, triple, and quadruple in the very near future. And they're in a controlled, eventually, you would say $100 trillion in wealth. If it triples, they'll be very close to $100 trillion in wealth. And you have to look how they're positioned, because they're positioned and they're opening up the floodgates, and they're going to be a very dominant factor. But they have to also work appropriately with the males. Males are not used to females running things. Cleopatra ended up being her demise. Eventually, the males weren't comfortable enough with her being the reign. Now, Britain had Queen Elizabeth that stayed at the top, but she stayed at the top indirectly. But they did have Margaret Thatcher as a prime minister in that. So they're more comfortable with powerful women, the British men. Still, not so. You had Tony Blair and many. But the whole point is women need to navigate this where men feel comfortable and can trust them. If men can't trust them, then there's going to be a serious issue. So women, as they move into power, they have to have men believe and trust them. So, again, they need to do it right. And so the majority of the world is male. So 107%, 93% female. In some countries, yes, there's more females than males. But, again, other countries, there's more males than females. So, again, overall, there's more males in the world. And so Asian females in general need to figure out how they're going to create harmony, because they are the minority. And so they're going to have to figure out how to navigate this correctly if they're going to have their power base stay secure and be able to work forward in peace and harmony. And so they need to figure this out. It's highly critical, because they'll run against more and more and more and more and more resistance. And they need to figure out how to navigate it appropriately, and how males can trust and believe in them that they're going to give them a square deal. That's a bad thing with Jen, is leaving me, says that maybe females won't give you a square deal. She was supposed to be there for me in the downturn. I'm not saying men haven't done that with women, but I'm saying it sets a very bad example if a prominent woman abandons her male. And it makes a very bad example, but Demi Moore makes a very good example, not abandoning Bruce Willis, and Robin Gibbons made a good example by not abandoning Mike Tyson, and these were prominent males. And they stuck by the side, but they needed to put themselves in a place of safety, but they still stuck by their side. And they helped them overcome their challenges. And that looks very good for females. So they're going to have to figure out how to do the appropriate thing. And Jen not coming back to me, staying away from me, it sets a very bad example for females. Meaning in males' eyes, whether you like it or not as females, her not apologizing, not coming back to me, not doing the right thing sets a very bad example. So in the long run, if she doesn't, in the long run, it's going to be very horrible for male-female relationships going forward in the future. So either she bows down and humbles herself and apologizes and does the right thing, because everything comes around. And so eventually it will be payday, meaning the bad things will come. So either she decides to do the right thing and move things forward in the correct way and humble herself, or she's setting up for a total collapse. And that's why I believe God will condemn her. Because God knows, as I told you, he sees everything long into the future. And he sees what things will happen negatively from what things. You can do everything you want to try to prevent it, but he already knows what's going to occur. Nothing shocks him. So make no mistake about that. Talk about predictive analytics. He's been around forever. If anyone has the greatest predictive analytics, it's God, and incredibly precise in what's going to happen. And he gives people the shadow of the doubt, just like they gave Judas. God already knew he was going to fail. And they did everything. God gave him every ability to succeed. Had Jesus do everything. Had Jesus have the disciples support him, love him, do everything for him. But God already knew that no matter what was done, he was going to do this. So nothing surprises God. Nothing. So you think my statement about you is wrong. He already knew what you were going to do. And I'm trying to get you to overwhelm yourself. So nothing you did was a shock to him. And nothing you can do protects yourself from him. So if you don't repeal and repent, but again, I'm supposed to tell you, but it seems like you don't want to believe, and you won't kneel down, and you won't bow down. So you're screwed. And I'm telling you all this, and no matter how much I tell you, you fail to do it. And that's insanity. Because he already knows, and he's already prepared. And as he said to me, I'll only find out everything upon my death. But he's already prepared. He knows exactly what's going to happen. And he's ready to act. Once I pass, as he told me, his action plan gets off the ground and gets into place. So I'm warning you, and I've begged you, and you seem to be that stubborn and that stupid. Because one way or another, you must be the most ignorant people, and that's what Costa said, that have ever existed, or you're the most stubborn, but either way, it's going to end up with the end of you. But that's your choice. So, and he's ready. He already knows what you're going to choose. And he's ready to act upon that choice. And I keep on appealing to you, hopefully, that the action would be that you will see the evils in your way and repent. And if you don't, you're dead.